Senator Langford.
Chairman Paul, thank you. Thank you all for coming here in the conversations. I do want to bring a couple of things here. One is news for those of y'all that are here on the panel you probably have not seen yet, that Tom Homan has announced that they are standing down Operation Metro Surge in a press conference during this time period. He also announced that they have had 4,000 total arrests of folks that are undocumented in Operation Metro Surge, and have identified over 3,300 children that were unaccompanied minors that we didn't know their whereabouts. They were lost during the last administration, that those kids were also identified as far as where they are. We have some kids that have been lost into labor trafficking and all kinds of things on it. They've done that. So there is some news that's happening. I also want to be able to correct the record on a couple of things I've heard just even in conversation today. This number of 14% of the folks have a criminal record that ICE has detained is actually not an accurate number. That number is 14% of violent criminals. That's murders and rapes. 70% of the folks that are arrested nationwide have a criminal record. And so it's interesting that I guess there's some folks that don't see as important to arresting folks with 5 DUIs or that are drug dealers or robbery. They're just interested in getting murderers and rapists out. But I would say for most people in my state, if they have a criminal record, they're interested in those folks being removed from the country. So 70% of the folks have been arrested nationwide by ICE in the past year do have a criminal record of some point, not 14%. Attorney General Ellison, you and I served together in the House years ago together, so we've known each other a long time on it. You made a comment earlier about me trying to be able to work to be able to solve things. During the Biden administration, I made it very, very clear, I'll work with anybody that will stop the chaos that was happening at our border during that time period. At the time, I was working with the Biden administration and trying to find a solution. We had 12,000 people a day that were illegally crossing our border, a day. Almost none of them had any background checks at all. We literally had no idea who they were, and we had 70,000 people that even the Biden administration identified as special interest aliens coming from areas of known terrorism, but we didn't know who they were. 70,000 just in 2024. So you're correct. I was willing to work with anyone to try to make that stop because it was absolutely out of control. I look at what's happening in Minnesota, and it's been a great conversation to try to just figure out things. ICE did a surge in New Orleans. This didn't happen. ICE did a surge in North Carolina. This didn't happen. When I look at my state and other states and the cooperation, there are right now about 1,200 jurisdictions in the country that have a 287G agreement with the federal government on honoring detainers and working to be able to partner together. There's 1,400 total agreements of some kind of memorandum of understanding with ICE and with local law enforcement across the country. But what I'm hearing from you is in Minnesota, a 287G would not be allowed according to state law. What's the cooperation? How many 287 agreements are there in Minnesota at this point?
Yeah, so the position that my office has taken is that if you are a sheriff who wants to pursue 287G, you must have the support of your county board under the Joint Powers Agreement. It's just a restatement of what the law is.
So how many agreements are like that?
I think 7 is the last number I heard, but there's no barrier. We're not saying that people can't do 287G agreements. We're saying that there is a procedure that they have to follow that involves engaging with their county board. That's all.
So I guess my challenge is, if there's someone arrested in Minnesota, let's say they've got 3 DUIs and they're arrested and they're incarcerated, and it comes up and pings in the records that this person also has a murder warrant in Oklahoma, would they be held until Oklahoma authorities came to get them at that point, or would they, at the end of whatever their term, be released? If Oklahoma reached out and said, hey, we want that person, I know you're prosecuting them, but before you release them, we want them, don't let go of them until we get there, what would happen in that situation?
I'm confident that Minnesota would honor Oklahoma's request.
Okay, how is that different in other places with ICE detainers? So if ICE reaches out and says, hey, this person's not legally present in the country, a court has already ruled they have a final order of removal, they need to be removed, would they be held until ICE gets there?
If there is a final order of removal,
Right.
then I mean, Mr. Schneller would be the best person to answer the question, but the answer is, yeah, ICE will be notified. Those people are going to be picked up. Those people are being picked up. And Senator, again, I did appreciate the work that you were doing on immigration. And I want to be clear that I think we need to return to that level of bipartisan cooperation. And I hope that you can continue in that direction. But one of my problems is that a lot of the reasons that the federal administration's giving for targeting Minnesota aren't justified based on the law.
Right, but
So-
I guess my first question is, if someone has a final order of removal from an immigration court, should they be removed?
Yes.
Okay, so then the argument from ICE is that sometimes they do a detainer, and by the time they got there, they've been released already. They're not actually there. Is that occurring?
Well,
Because I would say if Oklahoma contacts Minnesota and says, hold them till we get there, or if ICE contacts them and says, hold them till we get there, what's the difference?
if it is if somebody's been convicted of a felony, that person is going to be, there will be questioning as to what their nationality is. That information will be reported to ICE. Now, under a case which is based on federal and state law in Minnesota called Esparza versus Nobles County, if the person's not convicted of anything and there's an ICE detainer that's there, then ICE has to get them because they cannot be held beyond the time that the state have legitimate reason
But the
to
question
hold
is,
them.
are they notified in enough time for ICE to be able to get there? Because ICE's statement is, hey, we're going to get there as quick as we can, but it takes 2 agents to come pick somebody up if they're already being detained. It takes 8 agents to go get them if they're on the street somewhere. So their desire is, hey, if you've got somebody, even if they haven't been convicted, they've just been arrested, but they do have a final order of removal, ICE is going to contact and say, hey, I want to do this. And Shaniska was just saying before that a stat of 8% of ICE detainers being honored. I want to ask you about that.
So if we're talking about a final order of removal, somebody who's in Minnesota state custody, I'm confident that these people are being picked up. If there is no final order of removal, if there's no felony conviction, if the person is still pre-trial, then it would be a rearrest and a detention from the state of Minnesota if we were to continue to hold them beyond Minnesota's authority to hold them. So we cannot just say we're going to hold you because ICE wants you if it's a non-felony situation
All right, we'll
where
follow-
there's no conviction.
I'm past my time. We'll follow up with the ICE agents in a little bit and get a chance to
I
get
think it's
clarification.
a great